So let's get back to what you were saying about the sun and the object getting so damn close to it.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've had some people discuss this with you already, and I wouldn't be surprised, but it sounds like you've had already some photographs, maybe some things like that, maybe some stuff I haven't even seen. But why could the thing get so close unless it wasn't perhaps that it was made of the same plasma material? Plasma reacts very differently than other things because it creates an ionosphere around it, which actually sort of separates it from gravity in a sense, the way that maybe if you're familiar with different UFO constructions, there's a Mercury vortex engine. There's actually a blueprint for a Mercury vortex engine you could look up on there. Mercury spinning at 50,000 times per second, and the ions in the mercury become released from the mercury, and they create an ionosphere around that engine, which puts it in its own gravitational field, which these UFOs are in, and that allows them to move at great amounts of speed without whomever's inside feeling the G-forces that are there. So it sort of separates them from the gravity of the Earth, or wherever they're at.
Well, right. It's like they create their own gravity field, and they travel within that. So it's like anything affecting outside of that gravity field, they don't feel. They don't. It's like me sitting at this desk. It wouldn't. Outside looking out the window, you wouldn't know you were moving, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this object is breaking away from the sun because it's made of plasma.
And it hauled ass, if I may say so.
I'm sorry, say it.
Oh, I say it hauled ass. When it moved away from the sun, I mean, it really moved.
It is moving, and to think it's the size of Saturn to be moving, launching that quickly.
Yeah.
It's roughly the size of Saturn. That's pretty impressive.
That's it. That is impressive, and it's also it's even more puzzling. I mean, to think that something that size is moving that fast, it comes into our neighborhood. But now I would wonder why would a planet do that? See, I mean, of course, there's stuff we don't know, but I mean, if that's a UFO, that's a pretty damn big craft. If that's what that is, and I'd have to ask again, how do you create a craft that isn't affected, even creating its own gravity field or what have you? I mean, wow. I mean, that's unless the sun's not as hot as they tell us it is, but I don't want to go down that conspiracy rabbit hole.
Right. We wouldn't be able to. That'd be a tough battle to duke out there.
Yeah, and it's one I really don't want to go. I mean, I've heard the speculations and that the sun is actually some kind of Stargate, and I don't know. Something's heating us up, so I'll just leave it there. I'll leave that for others. I mean, if there's guests out there who want to come on and kind of give us that end of things, you contact me. We'll explore it, but not tonight. Unless a caller wants to. I personally don't, because I'll lose that argument because I just don't know.
Well, let's say for a moment, though, that it was a plasma. It did have some kind of an ionosphere around it, and it sort of reacted the way a black hole almost would, by bending light around it, so that it didn't have whatever the visible body of it was, be it solid or liquid or plasma. We wouldn't know, but let's say that it does have the properties that allow it to bend light around it to a certain degree that sort of makes it invisible. And everything the legends that we may or may not have heard, but from what I've heard, it seems sort of like Planet X just sort of shows up all of a sudden, and then it's gone, just like that. It doesn't really have a shelf life of more than a day or two, it seems like.
Well, yeah, from my understandings, from everything I've ever learned about it, is that it will be whipped. The sun's gravity will catch it and whip it around. I mean, it'll be fast, in and out. And I've got one guy who's been telling me it's been on its way out for over a year now, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe not. I mean, that's what I mean. You get so many different stories on this. And what I like about you is that you're bringing some facts. I really like that tree thing, and I really like this what you're producing here as far as objects next to the sun, and so it tells me that you're at least looking for facts, and you're really looking for the truth, and that you're not trying to glorify something like this just for the hell of it. So I'm really enjoying talking with you, but I'll stop interrupting you now, and you may go ahead with.
Well, I agreed. I don't think that without facts, there's just too many unanswered aspects of any topic.
Yeah.
And I've certainly seen all the photographs that you're talking about and I've even done it myself, where you hold a CD up to your camera and you take a picture of the sun, and it's like, wow, there's Nibiru right there, and
Well, yeah.
Anyway, and you're not seeing anything. So,
and I've had guys who've come on the show and they've told me, "Oh yeah, I'm getting pictures of it every day," and I'm so okay. Tell me how you're doing it so I could duplicate it. They'll tell me, I'll go outside and I'll duplicate it, but I'm not getting the same results. They tell me, well, you got to be doing it wrong. Well, I'm wondering how many directions are there to holding up some plastic lens thing and looking through it, to see the sun. I mean, because that's what they tell me. They say, well, you get the. I've had one person tell me get a piece of cardboard, poke a little hole in it, and I've tried all the tricks they've given me, and so far, nothing. And I'm thinking, if it's that close, then you'll be able to say, look, if it gets in the vicinity of even Jupiter, you'd be able to see it because the sunlight will bounce off this thing, just like Jupiter. That's why we see it, because it's close enough where the sun reflects off it. So I'm guessing if it's anywhere near the sun, outside of it being blinded out by the sun, we'd be able to see it if we really put an effort into looking at it. Now, I mean, people tell us, well, it's there's ways it could come in where you wouldn't see it. I guess that's possible. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that field.
Nor am I, but I agree with you 100%. If it's anywhere the size that they're talking about, if it's as close as Saturn or Neptune, we should be able to see it. The average astronomer should be able to see it, and if not with the naked eye, definitely with a cheap telescope. And it just doesn't seem like that's happening consistently. I know I realize there's the Vatican has a powerful telescope and so forth, but those pictures aren't doing it for me because I haven't seen them really. And if they're so confident that it's there, how come nothing's being released?
Well, right. This is what gets me too. They could take pictures of planets in other galaxies, right? And they go, oh, look at all these planets we found. But they can't get a picture of the one that's right out by Pluto? Why not? It don't make sense to me.
So is it possible that it's not there, but they just want us to look there so that we won't look at the sun, at something that's similar to what this object and thank you to whomever brought the video into the conversation here, because I didn't have that. But that video is probably the thing they don't want us to be looking at. That's why they've drawn our attention for so many years away from the sun.
The picture was very interesting, and I could even have said, well, maybe it's nothing, and then I seen the video, and that really brought it to life. So the video is a really good thing. It was a YouTube link, so apparently it's available. So if people want to,
it's available.
Yeah.
And there's 3 satellites watching the sun, watching this all the time, so they can see when that thing launches off in any direction that it goes. They've got eyes on it. Now, what determines the direction that it goes, and what determines whether it comes towards our planet? I think that's for the next guy to carry the torch. We've opened up this door, and the possibility here. This is maybe a little bit different perspective than what people have taken. But is somebody out there willing to take the torch to the next checkpoint and open this up?
And that's what you're right. That's what we need. It's everybody's got a part to play, I guess. You do whatever research you do. I do whatever research I do. And when it comes down to is when people say, "Oh, it's out there, it's out there." Well, I could look into all the stars, and I mean, it's just a lot of light points to me. You need somebody who you can trust. Somebody who's not out to gain off of it. Like there's people like Marshall Masters out there who he'll sell you the foundation to his house if he could, and there's people like that out there who, and I'm not saying that nobody deserves to get paid for their work because they do, but some people they these things that don't really matter to them, and they fabricate stuff just to make money, and so it's really hard to find devoted people. And I could tell, honestly, I'm not sucking up or anything. I could tell with you that you're doing honest research into this. I mean, because you contacted me, you're here, and it's, I told you in the email I didn't know how it would go. We'll see how it goes, and I got to say it's gone pretty well. You've kept it real, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate you having the slot available.
Sure. Well, I appreciate the guy who didn't do what he was supposed to do to make this slot available, because it's much more interesting than it probably would have been tonight. So thank you.
Well, yeah, maybe he'll be in a future show here, perhaps. Something we don't know.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he's in one of the underground tunnels. That's another thing. Look at all the stuff, and I don't want to get into that whole scat right now unless you want to, but look at all the underground tunnels and stuff that they've built, the underground cities. There's farms under the ground. They use artificial sunlight with them and all that stuff. And you got to wonder, I mean, do these people really think something like this is coming? Do you really think that if it's as bad as I'm told it will be, you're not surviving under the ground? And if you do, you might be staying under there for eternity, because you might not get back out of it.
Right, and this has the capacity to bring earthquakes like we've never seen. A 10 on the Richter scale is going to be nothing. And what happens when that tunnel cracks and you've got ocean seawater flowing in now, filling that tunnel, and it just has, I've heard anyway, and don't quote me, but I guess it's maybe some of them are 30 feet around or something, and they have trains and whatnot that transport hundreds of miles across the country. What happens when that fills up with water and you're on the other end of that tunnel, and that's your saving grace?
That is a nightmare. That's the last thing I'd want. Look, I'll take my chances above ground. I'm not going underground and getting trapped under there, because that's a worst case scenario. I don't want to be a sardine in a can. So I'll leave that to them. I mean, if I'm supposed to survive, then the creator, whoever or whatever that is, will assure that I'm where I'm supposed to be and I survive it. But personally, I don't know. Would I want to survive something like that? I don't know. I'm not looking to be Jesus and start this or that. I mean, if I can't have, I've said this before, if I can't have pizza and raviolis and I can't do the things I enjoy doing, I don't know. And if I've got to hide underground because of radiation poisoning and all that, I don't know. Is that something I really want to survive? I don't know. And I've had guests who have said, oh, everybody says that they wouldn't want to survive it. They're lying. Everyone wants to survive. Yeah, but nobody wants to suffer. I don't. I mean, having cancer and not being able to do nothing about it. I mean, you get radiation poisoning, and look, all the food, the water will be useless. And people say, well, I've got a basement stored full of water. Well, that's great if where you are doesn't get affected. If it does, then are you carrying all them gallons of water with you wherever you're going? I mean, there's a lot to consider when you think about something like this. So I'll take my chances.
Can I bring up an interesting point when you mentioned cancer there?
Oh, please do.
We're going to shift gears just a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to bring it back to Al Bielek. Just mention his name again, because when he's in his future life, he talks about medicine being different. Not using conventional medicine. He talks about different things like frequencies and lights and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And operations, maybe still needing some operations, but finding alternative ways to treat those types of things. And been doing a lot of research lately on frequencies, specifically sound frequencies, and found a guy who'd been around a while back. His name was Royal Raymond Rife. Ring a bell with anybody?
It sure
Royal
does.
Raymond Rife.
It sure does. Frequencies.
Okay. Yeah. So he worked with frequencies, and what he did was extremely successful. And I thought this was just almost hilarious. But let me bring it up here. What he found was that, I'm going to explain it like this to people that don't know the work that he did. Everything resonates at a specific frequency. it's vibrating, and just enough that we probably can't see it or feel it most of the time, including ourselves, or the pen on your table, the phone that you use all the time, the ground that we're walking under. And he was treating diseases in the human body by resonating that frequency, which means he brings it to an octave higher and an octave higher and an octave higher until the vibration becomes so tuned in to that specific item that it starts to shake it apart, basically. And we've seen that when people are breaking the glass. They sing a high-pitched note, which I'm not going to do for you on the show, but they sing the high-pitched note and the glass breaks. And it's like, wow, well, the question is, how come the glass broke but nothing else in the room broke? And the answer is because that particular pitch and frequency was resonating with the glass only, to a point where it was the molecules within the glass were shaking so much that it actually shatters it. And what he was doing was with cancer and other diseases in the body, so you got your cancer molecules, he was resonating with that frequency to where they were actually disintegrating, but it doesn't harm the rest of the body because it's only resonating with that specific individual signature associated with the cancer.
And to back that up even more so, I had just spoke with a scientist who I'm trying to get to come on the show, who said that they're now working with things like actually frequencies. They have proven in the lab that frequencies can change the DNA in a person. And by changing the DNA, you can attack certain diseases and things. And that they're getting to a point now where by changing the frequencies and adding or taking away certain genomes, that they could almost heal anything.
They can, yeah, I've heard that. This is what I found was interesting, what I thought was humorous, was that, so Royal Raymond Rife was doing this in the 1940s. He was curing cancer, and they kind of shut him down. And then along comes this is an article that I found today, actually, and I don't know the credibility of it. I'm going to say very little, but it's from Collective Evolution, and it's dated January 21st, 2016. It says, researchers demonstrate how cancer cells are obliterated by resonant frequencies. And this is the humorous part. In repeated and controlled experiments, the frequencies known as oscillating pulse electrical field technology killed an average of 25% to 40% of leukemia cells. Well, Royal Rife was getting 100% back in the 40s, and here we are in this day and age, and they're claiming they're getting 25 to 40% success rate. So what was he doing then that was so much better than where we're at now? Or what kind of technology did he have that they're just trying to bury and not allow us to have?
Well, and that's true. And I mean, we're so much further advanced than they let it out to be. I mean, there's so much more we could be doing. Frequencies are big, and that's why I'm concerned with all the cell phone use, the cell phone towers, the Wi-Fi, all these things that we're doing. Those are changing our frequencies. They're changing the frequencies around us, and they are affecting the body and the person. And people don't think so, but they are. And I've seen there's been so many people. I have a friend, as a matter of fact, in Rochester, who had a tumor. It had to be taken out of his brain. It was non-cancerous on the side of his head. And I asked him, I said, well, what hand, trying to be sarcastic a little bit, I said, what hand do you use for your phone mostly? Well, that side that he mostly talked on his cell phone, he wound up with a tumor in his brain. But he, to this day, won't admit that, there's no science that backs that up. Okay. Well, keep talking on your phone, and, I'll bring flowers, buddy. I don't know what to tell you. So, but yeah, some interesting work. But yeah, frequencies matter big time.
Yes, it is interesting, and one key factor I found that another portion of the Bible that talks about frequencies. We've all heard of the chakra frequencies. They're the human chakras that people, your root chakra and your heart chakra and stuff like that, and those all resonate at specific frequencies I believe it's called the solfeggio scale or something. It's the solfeggio scale.
Yeah.
They're particular frequencies, and well, there's one of them. I'm going to just quote some numbers here real quick.
Okay.
639. That's 639 cycles per second is one of them, and the next one up is 741. There's more, but I'm going to focus on those two just for this demonstration quickly. That in the Bible we read about, it says, oh, the number of the beast is 666, and it's a human number. And I've always said, well, what the heck is that talking about? Since I was a kid, I've never really known. And it dawned on me recently, as I'm doing this frequency research, that the 666 is actually cycles per second. It's a frequency. And it's a frequency that does not resonate with the human body, because naturally we resonate at 639 and 741, and there's others, but the 666 is sort of right in between there. It's in conflict with that. And when I started researching on Royal Raymond Rife, I found that all the cancerous cells that he was treating, they all resonate right about the number of 666 hertz.
That is very interesting. And that would make sense. Oh, go ahead.
There's just dozens of these different types of cancers, and they all seem to resonate at that frequency of 666 hertz.
Well,
which is certainly not in harmony with the frequencies of our chakras.
No, that's true. That's true. I'll tell you, there's something to it. Just like all this Wi-Fi, all these things that they've done that look like, oh, great technology. I think there's a big plan, a big reason behind it all. And this is where I come out. I sound like a bigger conspiracy theorist than somebody saying Planet X is coming, really, when you say this, because people don't want to believe it. But there are some pretty sick minds behind a lot of what's going on. That's why we've got such a dumbed down society, really, because of what they're doing to people's minds with all this technology. I don't use Wi-Fi. I don't like Wi-Fi. I don't use cell phones. I just, none of that does anything for me. As a matter of fact, I get mad if I have to use a cell phone. I don't like putting the damn things to my head. I don't want a car that has OnStar or any of that crap. I don't need to be followed, and I don't need my car talking to me. This stuff it's bad news.
Yeah, and we don't know what frequencies the thing's putting out.
I bet they do.
I bet you're right. They probably do.
We wonder, there's a cancer epidemic. Yeah, there sure is. I wonder why. I think that we could attribute it to many things. But I think that if we could put on a pair of goggles, I say this often, folks, I'm sorry, but it's true. If you put on a pair of goggles that you could see all the frequencies going around you, all these different microwaves and stuff, you would feel like a fish out of water, probably. You'd feel suffocated by all the different frequencies you see going through you, like your neighbor's Wi-Fi. Right now, that could be affecting you, and who knows what the frequency is, and who knows what it's doing to you long term. And not to mention living near electrical lines is bad enough. Then you've got all these Wi-Fis. But hey, hang on with us one more time. We've got to take one last break. Scotty has asked, has the guest info on the great central sun in which our sun orbits it? I guess he's asking if you have any information on the great central sun, and that our sun apparently orbits this great central sun. And he says, great night as usual, by the way. So any information on that?
I'm not 100% sure of which way he's asking the question. Is he talking about the sun in the center of the solar system? Is he talking about, there's some talk about a hollow earth theory where there's an actual sun inside the earth?
That's a good question.
I'm not sure the direction he's going.
I'm sorry, but that's a good question. So, Scotty, if you can elaborate on that just a little bit, that would be great. And in the meantime, we'll take a call, 817 area code. You got to, first off, turn the volume down in the background, please, and then let us know who you are and where you're calling from.
Me?
Yep, that would be you.
It's me. It's Red.
Oh, well, welcome aboard, Red.
Thanks, Michael.
If you could do me a favor, though, and turn the volume down in the background because we're hearing our voices coming back.
Yeah, that's on my computer. Sure, I just turned it right down.
Okay, well, thank you, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, so what's on your mind?
Well, I just want to say thanks for having me, and I'm new to LNM.
Okay, well, it's great to have you here. So did you have something that I believe you were telling me about being targeted or something in the chat room? So is that why you were calling, or did you have another question?
Well, that's been going on for a long time, and it's a long story. But I think something or somebody is targeting me with some kind of. I know it kind of sounds out there like X-File stuff, but I believe I'm being targeted with some electronic weaponry, and I've done some research with Dr. John Hall, and tried to find out as much as I can. And I know there's a lot of targeted individuals in the world.
I see. Well, yeah, and I've actually had some of them on this show. So now that you've called in and I've heard your voice and I know that you're real, if you want to email me and we could certainly put something together and have you on and you could tell your story. But so were you wondering if if the guest knows of anything you could do about the frequencies being thrown at you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think? Lonnie, what do you think about that? Is there anything you know of that somebody could do to prevent these frequencies from disrupting them? I mean, he's being targeted. So basically, people are using So they're using technologies against them.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm. So,
okay. Well,
and also being being individually harassed and assaulted, and I've been tailgated and people have tried to run me off the road and. Defamed and all of it, street theater, you name it, the whole gamut of the targeting, whatever their MO is. I've been the victim of that for a long time.
Oh, okay. So what do you think, Lonnie?
Let's ask the question here. These frequencies that resonate with the human body, the ones that we were created, my frequencies would be the same as Michael's, the same as yours, because we're all of the same origin. And the frequencies I'm talking about is solfeggio frequencies. I would probably write that down.
Yeah, I read that. I read a little bit about that. Yeah, I've looked on Dr. Len Horowitz site. And he talks about the love, God's love vibration note, 528 hertz, and and I've connected to a little bit to that, but I mean, the immediate what's going on, I just feel this interruption, like this. I actually feel like this zapping. I can't explain it, but when I'm trying to go into a deep REM sleep, but just at the moment of that point, it's like I get hit, and I don't know how they're doing it. How they're it's like they're hacking my mind. I don't want to sound like a freakish, but it's like they are. They're hacking my mind. They're overriding my mind. How do I make it stop?
Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you.
Or go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh well, really quick. I just want. Do you think is there a reason behind it, or are they just experimenting or goofing with you like they are probably millions of other people?
Well, there's that, Michael. I think, like I said, Dr. John Hall talks a lot about that. Like it is an experiment, but I also think it's part of mind control, and I think I'm being tortured. I think all three is happening to me.
I see. Well, go ahead, Lonnie. I'm sorry.
Okay, you had mentioned the 528 frequency. That's probably the most common one that anyone knows about. But there's actually 9 total. And starting at the bottom, the first one is removing pain. The second one, 285 hertz, is influencing energy fields. That sounds like it'd be a good one for you to take control of influencing of what energy fields influence you. So if you were figure out a way to resonate your body at 285 hertz, you would be connecting with that signature within yourself of 285, which is described as influencing energy fields. That's my first thought. Just
right, sorry about that. I just pulled the phone out of my receiver. Sorry about that, but I missed a little bit about that. But 285 hertz. I'm not sorry. How does that work exactly? Is that like what are you suggesting exactly? I'm not sure.
285. Try this, and I'm just going to throw this out there, and it may not work for you, but it may. You're going to resonate some water, because the human body is made up mostly of water, and we can resonate water by
80% or 90%. Yeah, resonate water means what exactly?
A glass of water, and what you're going to do, you'll
Yeah.
Set up your stereo, and you're going to need to get some kind of tone generator. You can get one right off the internet. Just download some kind of a tone generator that'll generate a 285 hertz tone.
A tone generator.
You're going to put tone generator. Put the glass of water between the two speakers. Point them at each other at a close distance, about a foot apart, and that the two speakers are going to be working against each other, and they'll resonate that water at that frequency.
Right.
You got to do it for about 2 to 3 minutes is all it's going to take to make that water start resonating at that frequency. Then you'll drink the water.
What happens? I drink the water.
The water. You drink the water.
Wow. What does that do?
And the water, that's going to start your body, the water that's in your body, resonating at 285. It's just like throwing a rock into a flat pool of water. That ripple is going to go through your body, and you're going to start to take control of the energy fields that are influencing you right now. Because right now, that 285 frequency, you're not on 285. You're somewhere's other. Maybe you're on 265 or something. We got to get you back to 285. So I hope that helps.
Well, yeah. How does that work? So how does that work exactly? I take control of the frequency. What do I do? Like, is it like Merlin? You know, and that thou shall not pass here at this point. You know, what am I doing at that point?
It's just things start to just take care of themselves once you get your frequencies realigned with the ones of those solfeggio scale.
Oh, okay, so things will just shake out naturally at that point, or I'll stop being electronically harassed by the person living in the apartment below me. That's all going to go away.
It's going to be sort of like let me say it like this.
It's kind of like wearing sunscreen when you go out in the sun. It's kind of a preventive maintenance. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like
somebody mentioned,
if you had let me say it this way for you to understand. A copper blade is going to cut the leather.
Okay.
But a steel blade will cut the copper, but a diamond blade will cut steel. And right now, let's say you're at the level of maybe a copper blade because your frequency is off. Now we're just going to retune the frequency back to where it was, and you're going to move closer to steel, and then you're going to move closer to diamond. And those frequencies that are influencing you now, you're going to rise above that, and they won't be able to influence you the same way that copper can't cut steel, the same way that steel cut a diamond. Does that make sense?
Okay, I got that. Yeah, that's clear. That's clear. I understand that. I see that. Thanks so much for that. I can look into that. I'm trying to purchase these items. I don't have it right now, but somebody mentioned in the chat about an earthing blanket. Not too sure about that. You know what that's about? An earthing. You know what he's talking about? And another person mentioned Oregon or whatever that is. You know some other methods of protecting myself or shielding myself.
Well, here's something that just came in from Rascala, who hosts the Red Pill reality show. He said that you can actually buy RF resistant clothing as well as headgear. So maybe that's another way to go.
RF resistant clothing. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, apparently it will protect you from these frequencies entering your body. But there's got to be something you do too outside of that. I mean, you've got to somehow be able to block these frequencies from. Otherwise, I mean, it's like putting some Oragel on a toothache. Okay, it's gonna help, but then the next day your tooth is gonna hurt again. So
because you're right, Michael. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the effects every night. I'm feeling the effects every day. There's heat on my back. My back is aching. My neck is aching. I feel my right ear is plugged all the time. I'm disoriented. Like I'm knowing something is going on and it's hurting me, and I don't know how to stop it. I'm getting scared.
Well, I'll tell you, I've got people. Maybe one of these nights I'll have you on the show. I got to get a guest back who has come out about these frequencies. He actually moved from the United States and moved overseas because of this. He says,
I've been on the run too for years. It's been the same thing for me.
Yeah, and he's found things that kind of work for him in a sense, but it's more of coping with it and finding ways to cope with it rather than completely stopping it, because these psychos, they don't stop. I know. Yeah, so it's really.
I know, because once a target, always a target, and I live with that every day.
Yeah. Well, I've
heard that too. I've heard that. Sorry, Michael. I've heard that about coping. I've heard that about that's even on the chat room. Somebody mentioned that about keeping calm, and it's a challenge. Being in my shoes, it's a challenge. You can't judge another man until you walk a mile in his moccasins. Well, I wouldn't want this on anybody, my brother.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Now, Rascala says that you can also get conductive sheets for your bed. He says they're ground the bed sheets with a ground from the wall. So
I don't know how that works.
yeah, I don't either. So.
Yeah.
But I'd probably electrocute myself. And of course, that'd take care of the problem, wouldn't it? But that's not what we want.
No, I want to live. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm not supposed to die. You know, like we talked about that sometimes in the chat room. If your time is up, your time is up. But you know what? I believe I'm supposed to be here, and I believe that I'm supposed to be alive. And you know, these, like you said, these cycles, these dark entities have another idea about that, but I don't think they can override God, and I don't think they can hack God's DNA, and I don't think they're greater than the Creator. I just don't believe it.
Well, I believe in karma, and I think everything, whatever bad intentions they have, will come back to bite them at some point. I mean, it has to. It's just the laws of gravity, I guess.
Yeah, I believe that too, my brother. I just hope it's sooner than later, and not after they leave this life. I know there's a consequence to that too. But I believe that they're trying to put this spiritual net around me. They're supposed to try to keep me from evolving. It's hard to explain that one, but it's deep, and it's like these guys know something. I've seen something by how they practice, and they've seen my life, and like I'm trying to, it's hard to explain all that, Michael. Sorry.
Oh no, it's quite all right. I'll tell you what though, this is important enough where I'll look into early next month, which is right around the corner, is getting a guest on about this type of thing and all the options that we have to protect ourselves. It'd be nice to be able to reverse their frequencies and use them against them.
For sure. I would love that.
Yeah, so I'm sure there's a way.
That would be interesting.
Oh, it would, wouldn't it? It's like catching it and throwing it back at them.
I know that'd be awesome. I hope that comes around. I hope that we can do that.
I'm sure there's ways, man. But in the meantime, just try some of these things that were suggested and research it. You're going to be the best protector to yourself by doing your self diligence and doing all the research that you can on it.
Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm trying, for sure I am. I'm reaching out, and thank you for taking my call, and I love you, and keep me in your prayers, eh?
Hey, thank you very much, and I appreciate your call as well, and good luck with everything. And
yeah, take care. Please try to get some people like you said, and the other guest you mentioned, that he seems like he has a lot of knowledge and wisdom. He's first-hand experience with being targeted. That would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. God bless, and do your best. Don't give up, man.
Thanks. Try to get Dr. John Hall on your show.
Absolutely. All right.
You can.
You
Take
bet.
care, Michael.
All right, you too. Thank you. All right, so there we go. He's been trying to get a hold of me. He's been messaging me in the chat for, I think, weeks. And, I don't know, it's just, I didn't know. It's hard to really keep up with things like that in the chat. And I guess he sent me an email and something happened to it. I don't know what. So he was going to send me another one. And, now I've heard from... See, folks, this helps. When you call in, I know you're not just somebody trying to play games and what have. I mean, I could hear in his voice that, he's seriously shaken.
It sounds like tonight was the perfect night for him to call in.
Yeah, it does.
And hear what, how the three of us were able to just pull the whole thing together. I think great ideas with the people that are in the chat room, and now he can put together a game plan. I think you've got the correct advice in telling him that he's got the power to change this, to turn this around. Do the research. Find out what's really going on out there, because we don't know exactly what the government or whoever it might be, is really up to, and it could be right through your cell phone even, we don't know. But do the research, find out what the consequences could be if we don't do something differently. If we're not interested in changing, then maybe there is some simple things you could do, that just by purchasing some clothing, or take a different path of life, shut your Wi-Fi off at night when you sleep, stuff like that.
These I gotta be honest, if it was me, if I was in this situation, I was feeling like I was being targeted like this, and who am I to say anything? If this was happening to me, I would definitely be using a lot of my time to research, and I would be looking for ways, because I'm kind of revengeful in that matter. I would be looking for ways to use their own weapons against them. First off, I'd want to protect myself, and I would find ways to rebel and to repel. I don't know how, but I would find ways. If that meant lining my walls with tin foil, honestly, I would do it. So research it, look into it. Definitely turn off anything that will call, like Wi-Fi's, like you just said, Wi-Fi's, stuff like that they could use against you.
and put the mannequin in the window like Home Alone and go out to dinner, right?
There you go. As a matter of yes.
The record player.
I once had an apartment in Rochester. I not kid you. Where I had a maintenance job, and I was cleaning out one of the storage lockers. And there was somebody apparently used to be a barber or something. They had one of those heads you practice on. Well, I kept the head instead of throwing it out, and I used to put it in my window when I went out. People always thought some nosy old man was looking out the window. So it works, make them think you're home and go, yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, you got to outsmart them. And believe me, you called into this show and you're brave enough to talk about it. And I really believe you. I think you're telling the truth. And so you're obviously smart enough to outwit them. So do it. That's it. Listen, we're down to about another 5 minutes. What I want to do is give you the floor to get out anything. Oh, wait a minute. Before we even do that, I want to continue here. Scotty did answer us. He had a question in the chat. What he was talking about, he says a 3-sun system, the great central sun, our sun that we see, and the unit sun that is thought to be part of the Planet X system. So we're talking about a lot of suns here. So he's saying basically a 3-sun system. Like our sun's not the only one, apparently.
Yep, I understand it now. Okay. And I've heard of a 2-sun system.
Yeah.
In fact, when we were in school, we had a cool name of a band that kind of came through that was called 2-Sun Temple. Even that was my first introduction to the 2 suns. But I hadn't really heard of a 3-sun system. I totally believe it's possible.
Yeah, I believe it's possible, and I got to be honest, I've never heard of it either. But there's a lot of things in the last 8 years I haven't heard of that I know well now. So yeah,
right.
So interesting. I got any
going back to how Gil Broussard has put together that timeline, where things happen roughly, let's say, every 360 years. But sometimes then there was only 100 years or 50 years between these catastrophic events. Is it very possible that there's more than one thing that's circling around the sun or orbiting as it would be, and they're coming at different times? So you could get a short distance between catastrophic events, or a long day or a long night kind of thing. A third sun or a third dwarf star, as it might be, would certainly explain that, don't you think?
I do, and anything is possible. I always say that because these so-called scientists, even NASA, how often they say, oh, they were certain about how planets were formed, and all these decades, right? Then they come out and say, oh, we were wrong about that. So they don't know everything, and I'm sure they know a lot more than they're telling us, but they don't know everything. And if they do, well, I hope somebody hacks them good and releases all the information to us. Because we pay for NASA and they don't tell us anything. And so, I'm all for it. I'm not telling people to do it. I'm not directing you. I'm just simply saying that God bless anybody who can get that information for us. We'd love to have it. But that does leave us to just a few minutes here. So, Lonnie, I want to go ahead and give you the floor to get out anything you like. And I could tell you and I could probably have a lot more to talk about, so we'll have to get you back.
We could probably keep going, but I understand we got to wrap it up here. I would just say, and I think you said it earlier in the show, is question everything. And that sort of happened originally when I was possibly in Sunday school for a very short period of time, because I think I skipped right out of that quickly. But we were told stories then about the Bible, and eventually I maybe got into my early 20s. I said, you know what, I think I'll just read it for myself. And when I read it, I said, jeepers, this isn't exactly like all the stories I've heard growing up. And things started to be interpreted differently. Jeepers, it just doesn't say what they told me. Yeah. It was all word of mouth at that point. But when I read it for myself, I started to question everything at that point. And which led to great discoveries. When I stopped accepting what I was being told, and I said, okay, I'm going to just do the research for myself, and we'll see where it leads. We'll see what happens. I have no idea what's on the next page until I finish what's on this page, and I turn it. That's right. And that would be the biggest thing, I think, for everyone listening tonight, is to continue to question things. if it says this or says that, whether it's the Bible, whether it's Planet X, whether it's a sequoia tree, I'd say go look up that sequoia tree thing for yourself and come at it from a different angle and verify it and find out whether or not, yeah, is this lining up with what we're being told, or is this something completely off base?
Right, and that's what I do. I try to look at these things with common sense, even though it goes against the grain. And some people who are stuck in certain belief systems, they don't find that very appealing. And I'm sorry, but I'm with you. I've read the Bible myself on a few occasions. I've listened to the Bible audios a couple times. And I've come up with my own determinations. And I'm no expert, and I'm not saying that I'm right, but I'm certainly not going to say someone else is right either, just because that's what they were raised to believe. Is there a God? Well, certainly there's something. There's intelligence behind what we have here. So now the question is, whose intelligence? And if aliens put us here, just saying, well, then who the hell put them here or there? So there's a lot of questions to be answered. And I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of it all. But damn, I'm glad there's folks like yourself who are out there trying to figure these things out. I mean, you've brought some new information to the table tonight with the whole the tree in 35. I mean, I like that. That's sticking with me. You've got me wanting to look into stuff like that, so thank you. Really.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, hey, again,
I think people
go ahead.
carrying the torch, I'm anxious to listen to the next shows and see who comes on next and who's going to take it to the next level, It doesn't stop here tonight. This is just one checkpoint.
It doesn't stop here. And I mean, like tonight, I had no intentions, no plans. I didn't think we were going to be having a Planet X discussion tonight. Something totally different was planned tonight. But here we go. We shift off, and it turns out that I'm glad it went this way because, I've had plenty of guests on, and now you bring something a little different to the table. And I that's what I like. Rather than somebody rehashing what everybody else has said, you're doing the research and you're telling me what you've come to see in all this. So thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate having the time to be able to spend with you here on the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, any websites or Facebooks or anything that you want to plug, by all means, go right ahead.
I didn't come to plug anything. I just put the information out and basically felt that your show was the best place to do it.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. And you're welcome anytime. Shoot me emails, update me on what you find out. And maybe sometime if I have another Planet X guest on, you want to join us and compare notes, that'd be great. So let's get back to what you were saying about the sun and the object getting so damn close to it.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've had some people discuss this with you already, and I wouldn't be surprised, but it sounds like you've had already some photographs, maybe some things like that, maybe some stuff I haven't even seen. But why could the thing get so close unless it wasn't perhaps that it was made of the same plasma material? Plasma reacts very differently than other things because it creates an ion sphere around it, which actually sort of separates it from gravity in a sense, the way that maybe if you're familiar with different UFO constructions, there's a Mercury vortex engine, and there's actually a blueprint for a Mercury vortex engine. You could look up on there, Mercury spinning at 50,000 times per second, and the ions in the Mercury become released from the Mercury, and they create an ion sphere around that engine, which puts it in its own gravitational field, which these UFOs are in, and that allows them to move at great amounts of speed without whomever's inside feeling the G-forces that are there. So it sort of separates them from the gravity of the Earth or wherever they're at.
Well, right. It's like they create their own gravity field, and they travel within that. So it's like anything affecting outside of that gravity field, they don't feel. They don't. It's like me sitting at this desk. It wouldn't. Outside looking out the window, you wouldn't know you were moving, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this object that's breaking away from the sun because it's made of plasma.
And it hauled ass, if I may say so.
I'm sorry, Eddie.
Oh, I say it hauled ass when it moved away from the sun. I mean, it really moved.
It is moving, and to think it's the size of Saturn to be moving, launching that quickly.
Yeah,
it's roughly the size of Saturn. That's pretty impressive.
That's it. That is impressive, and it's also it's even more puzzling. I mean, to think that something that size is moving that fast, it comes into our neighborhood. But now I would wonder why would a planet do that? See, I mean, of course, there's stuff we don't know, but I mean, if that's a UFO, that's a pretty damn big craft. If that's what that is, and I'd have to ask again, how do you create a craft that isn't affected, even creating its own gravity field or what have you? I mean, wow. I mean, unless the sun's not as hot as they tell us it is, but I don't want to go down that conspiracy rabbit hole.
Right. We wouldn't be able to. That'd be a tough battle to duke out there.
Yeah, and it's one I really don't want to go. I mean, I've heard the speculations and that the sun is actually some kind of Stargate, and I don't know. Something's heating us up, so I'll just leave it there. I'll leave that for others. I mean, if there's guests out there who want to come on and kind of give us that end of things, you contact me. We'll explore it, but not tonight. Unless a caller wants to. I personally don't, because I'll lose that argument because I just don't know.
Well, let's say for a moment, though, that it was a plasma. It did have some kind of an ionosphere around it, and it sort of reacted the way a black hole almost would, by bending light around it, so that it didn't have whatever the visible body of it was, be it solid or liquid or plasma. We wouldn't know, but let's say that it does have the properties that allow it to bend light around it to a certain degree that sort of makes it invisible. And everything the legends that we may or may not have heard, but from what I've heard, it seems sort of like Planet X just sort of shows up all of a sudden, and then it's gone, just like that. It doesn't really have a shelf life of more than a day or two, it seems like.
Well, yeah, from my understandings, from everything I've ever learned about it, is that it will be whipped. The sun's gravity will catch it and whip it around. I mean, it'll be fast, in and out. And I've got one guy who's been telling me it's been on its way out for over a year now, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe not. I mean, that's what I mean. You get so many different stories on this. And what I like about you is that you're bringing some facts. I really like that tree thing, and I really like this what you're producing here as far as objects next to the sun, and so it tells me that you're at least looking for facts and you're really looking for the truth, and that you're not trying to glorify something like this just for the hell of it. So I'm really enjoying talking with you, but I'll stop interrupting you now, and you may go ahead with.
Well, I agreed. I don't think that without facts, there's just too many unanswered aspects of any topic.
Yeah.
And I've certainly seen all the photographs that you're talking about and I've even done it myself, where you hold a CD up to your camera and you take a picture of the sun, and it's like, wow, there's Nibiru right there, and
Well, yeah.
Anyway, and you're not seeing anything. So
and I've had guys who've come on the show and they've told me, oh yeah, I'm getting pictures of it every day, and I'm so, okay, tell me how you're doing it so I could duplicate it. They'll tell me, I'll go outside and I'll duplicate it, but I'm not getting the same results. They tell me, well, you got to be doing it wrong. Well, I'm wondering how many directions are there to holding up some plastic lens thing and looking through it, to see the sun. I mean, because that's what they tell me. They say, well, you get I've had one person tell me, get a piece of cardboard, poke a little hole in it, and I've tried all the tricks they've given me, and so far, nothing. And I'm thinking, if it's that close, then you'll be able to say, look, if it gets in the vicinity of even Jupiter, you'd be able to see it, because the sunlight will bounce off this thing, just like Jupiter. That's why we see it, because it's close enough where the sun reflects off it. So I'm guessing if it's anywhere near the sun, outside of it being blinded out by the sun, we'd be able to see it if we really put an effort into looking at it. Now, I mean, people tell us, well, it's there's ways it could come in where you wouldn't see it. I guess that's possible. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that field.
Nor am I, but I agree with you 100%. If it's anywhere the size that they're talking about, if it's